Distribution, yeah.
Okay.
No, not this one, this one. Formal, you can model it, I know that. But from model and the...
Can I insert just one
right.
observation that may help clarify a little bit? The big, really important, the driving motivation between the Deontic process and these documentary processes over here is that Deontics per se is not visible.
Right.
I promise you something, you have an obligation, there's a prohibition, but in particular, like in contracts, you know, I promise I'm going to do something tomorrow, and then tomorrow I deny that I had a promise. So how do you, when do you feel confident that you can rely on my promise? And so that's why all this documentation, or in some pre-literate societies, ceremonies, or wedding rings and all this other stuff is to make the Deontics visible. It's sort of like it's like deep structure and surface structure. We may have a thought and then we enunciate it in words. The problem is there's good ways and bad ways to make it visible. This is where all the transaction costs come. And we're trying to find ways, improved ways, but so somebody else, this original paper that I cited, points out that in developing countries, the procedure may be as much as 50 times more complicated than it is in other countries. Why? Do they need that? Does the culture really require all that many extra controls? Or maybe there's an easier way of doing it. And then when you're trying to do international trade, you have to resolve this. You have to somehow harmonize between these things.
Yeah, I know
you really need this deep structure.
Yeah, I know the purpose. What I'm saying, the second of these control requirements from where? From that map, where it's from.
From formalism.
Right.
From looking at the Deontic
process. Of the Deontic process.
I agree.
So actually there's an arrow from the Deontic process to control requirements.
Professor Sudong,
yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
This is the input given the Deontic process.
Right.
Then we analyze, I analyze a set of Deontic process that as you see here, and the methods for deriving Deontic analysis I just showed here. I spent like a chapter to analyze how can we come up with principle for deriving control requirement from Deontic processes. And what I look at all of the pattern of Deontic chain. What is possible Deontic chain in all of the Deontic process model. And what is possible relationship in the Deontic process? There are two aspects. The static aspect, that means the relationship between parties involved in the transaction. And the dynamic aspect, I mean the chain of Deontic state. And I identify the taxonomies of Deontic chain and Deontic relationship. And based on this one, derive a set of control principles. And use that principle to derive control requirements. So this is like an instant, a specific model. And I have analyzed a source of different structure there, and I came up with a pool, like you may see like a pool of knowledge or a library of control principle. And then I input a specific Deontic process and derive a control requirement.
Okay, so you have something else, and then together that you derive the control requirements, right?
Yes, that's right. That's here. That's actually one contribution of the research.
Yeah.
Besides the formalism, this is the method for analyzing the Deontic process. So for contribution of the research includes a formalism for modeling the Deontic process.
Which slide are you on now?
I will come to slide 19 very soon. We finished already. Just backwards. Yeah. Okay. Formalism for modeling the Deontic process. A method for analyzing the Deontic process.
Which slide is that on? These four. You're saying four.
Here, I show it here. Right here. Look here.
Oh,
it's from slide 13. Right. This is about the formalism for modeling the Deontic process. This is the methods for analyzing the Deontic process to come up with a set of 10 principles for deriving control requirements. This is the formal specific, this is the set of the resulting, the method for deriving principle and the result control principle. And then the formal specification of the principle. We may consider these two as one contribution. And then the implementation in the program. So, now, quickly come to the validation we just said, theoretical implementability, I should modify that, and practical relevance. Now we come up the contribution of the research. The first contribution of the research is the redesign methodology. As I say here, the redesigned methodology instead of looking at the flow of document and data. Here, I'm looking at the underlying deontic purpose, which temporarily called the deontic diff structure. Here, we cannot see a write-on application. We see a document, we see a control activity. So I represent a redesigned methodology to explicate the underlying deontic structure of procedure and make the connection between this underlying deontic structure and the surface structure of procedure. And I provide a formalism in order to accomplish this redesigned methodology. This is the way to do. This is a tool to do the way, to do the thing here. And I also provide a tool and an application, a tool and an operational system for the design and verification of control. When you have a control requirement, you can use it for two purposes. Either you use it to guide the designs of the procedure, of new procedure, or you use it as criteria to verify an existing procedure, whether there is enough control. So you can use it to guide the design of new procedure or for verification of existing procedure. The practical contribution of the research include a tool for deontic process modeling. We can go through it briefly in the demonstration. A formal basic and a prototype for the driving control requirement. This practitioner can use it right now. They can run the system right now. And more importantly for me, I think that I provide insight on the deontic reality and its implication on business operation. This is the key issue. People, by understanding the deontic structure and the business procedure and the relationship between them, can use them to improve their practice in the design, implementation, development, and use, especially of administrative information system, especially. And they also help them to handle change in the procedure. They can conceptualize change in the deontic level and change in the control level. So by conceptualizing these two components, they can isolate change in each aspect and handle it appropriately. The limitation of the research include the scope of control. Here, I look at the control on specific transaction. However, for the long-term relationship, especially between banks, for instance, they refer to you